Hi, I'm Mr. Wilson, and today I'll be taking you through a class on volume. First, we're going to be looking at what is volume, followed by importance of volume, using the measuring cylinder to find volume, and then we're going to be looking at possible errors while finding volume. What is volume? Volume is a quantity of three-dimensional space. One will recall length, width, height. Finding the volume of regular shaped objects, irregular shaped objects, and liquid are done differently. In this lesson, we will be looking at liquid. Volume forms a very important part of our lives. The nurse must know the volume of the IV fluid to be administered. The chef must understand volume to ensure a perfect recipe. The construction of your swimming pool, the volume of water to be used will determine the size. Measurement of volume must be reliable and valid at all times to ensure you get the same volume for the measurement wherever you go. Hence, we need to understand how to measure volume. Before we get started, remember, readings must be taken at eye level and in front of a scale on your measuring cylinder. Let's begin. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. We read every one. Alright, we are going to be finding the volume of some water. But before we find the volume, it's very important to understand the graduation on the cylinder. This is suggesting that it's a 100 ml cylinder, and each mark on the cylinder would be 1 ml. Usually there's a scale on the measuring cylinder. So that's 1, see 10 up to 100 ml. Let's look at another one. If we look at this measuring cylinder, it doesn't have a scale on it, but we could easily work that out. Here we have 20, here we have 25. So all that we need to do is to start counting from 20 to 25, and then we could see what that is. So we have 20, 21 at this tall mark, 22, 23, 24, 25. So each of these marks would represent 0.5 ml. Now this is a 25 ml cylinder. All right, so if you observe the gradation on this is somewhat different. Each of these strokes represent 0.5. For this one, each of the stroke would represent 1. Let's look at another cylinder. This cylinder is 100 as well, and this too has a little different graduation. The graduation is not the same. So we have 90 here, 95, and each of these little marks here would represent 1. We call this here the scale. This is pretty much a scale. And then we have a big measuring cylinder. And this one is saying that it can measure up to 1,000 ml. So it has a volume of 1,000, and it is saying for each of these lines, it would measure 10 ml. So the choice of measuring cylinder is very, very important. You want to choose the most appropriate measuring cylinder to carry the volume that you want to measure. All right, so in this case, we're just going to randomly find the volume of some water. So we're going to pour some water from the beaker. This is a beaker here. And we're going to try to point out the meniscus. I'm hoping that our lens will be good enough that we can show you the meniscus. All right, so here we go. The interest is to find the meniscus. Now, for me, I usually tell my students that what appears to be the right area to take the measurement
is actually the wrong area, because we all try to get the measurement from the top of the water column here, but that is not the correct area to take the measurement. You have to look for a little curved surface, or what I like to call the thickness of a water, and right at the base of the thickness at the top here, you're going to be finding the correct volume. So try not to take your reading at the extreme top. The first thing that would come to mind, look for a little thickness below this water here, and that will be the meniscus. I'm looking at the measuring cylinder. It's not the best thing to use to measure volumes of water, but probably if you look closely, you can see a little thick rim here. We don't want to measure at the top, we want to measure at the bottom here. Try not to take your measurements using beakers. It's better you use a measuring cylinder. It offers a more accurate reading. Yell on the beaker, however, we would prefer to take the measurement using a measuring cylinder and pour it into your beaker. Right, so if you look at this, you might be saying that this is 850 ml of water. Of course, it is not. It is much less than 850 ml, because you'll have to be reading from below the top of the water, right at where we find the meniscus.
Thanks for watching. We hope the video helped to improve your skills in finding volume. We will also leave links in the description for other useful content. Keep watching and be safe.